It's a midweek edition of the Frank Beckmann Show, everybody. Welcome into this spot where we always keep you the best informed audience in all of radio. So good to have you with us. And, boy, the abortion issue is just red hot in the country right now down in Alabama. They passed a bill yesterday in the, I believe it was the House, that will ban all abortions at any stage of pregnancy, and they're hoping, the backers are hoping, that it's going to lead to a challenge of Roe v. Wade all the way up to the Supreme Court. Georgia's done something similar. Here in Michigan, we had action yesterday in the Senate. Senator Tom Barrett's legislation to ban the gruesome procedure, just the barbaric procedure of dismemberment abortions in our state, was passed by the Senate. It was a strict party line vote. All the Democrats said no. All the Republicans said yes, this is a good idea. And Governor Gretchen Whitmer is already, she's already talking about it. All right, so Senator Tom Barrett, Republican of Charlotte, the 24th District of Michigan, those were your bills. The governor is on the warpath against them already. Good morning to you, first of all. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate you having me on today.
So the governor's threat is this bill is now going to move over to the House, which also has a Republican majority and is likely to pass over there as well. The governor's standing in the way of this. Is there any way to change her mind, do you think?
Well, Frank, I'm a firm believer in passing good policy, and I think this is good policy, and I'm hopeful that the governor will see that and sign these bills into law. Dismemberment abortion. I gave some remarks on the Senate floor yesterday, and I talked about how I was proud to offer this bill and proud to support it and encouraging my colleagues to support it. But I said, I'm also sad that this is even necessary in a civilized society, that this is even necessary to bring about legislation to prohibit the practice of literally dismembering a live unborn baby just weeks before they would be born, weeks, before viability, or in some cases after the point of viability, where they are dismembered limb from limb while they are still alive. And if you or I did that to a cat or a dog, we would rightfully be arrested, prosecuted, publicly shamed, and everything else. But we can't even elevate a 22-week or 24-week unborn baby to the status of a stray cat, and that's a huge concern of mine. I hope the governor will see that, and I hope she'll sign these bills into law because I think they are good policy.
But you know the argument on the other side. It's a woman's right to choose what happens with her own body, and if she fears that this is going to change her life in a negative way, she should have that option of ending that pregnancy.
Right, that is the alternative point of view. However, we did provide an exception in the bill that would allow a doctor to intervene to protect the life of the mother. So if the life of the mother is at risk and a doctor has to intervene, they're able to intervene in whatever way they feel is necessary to protect the life of the mother. And the standard we applied to that was a reasonable medical judgment by the physician. And we actually had a abortion doctor come to our committee in the Senate and testify that she was opposed to that language. And I asked this doctor, at what point in her practice did she not use reasonable medical judgment? And she could not answer that question. And again, I made this point that if we can't protect women with a reasonable medical judgment, then absolutely we are not giving them the quality of health care that they would need. This bill has within it protections to allow for that intervention to protect the life of the mother. But short of that, for other reasons that a woman may decide to try and obtain this procedure, we did not feel that was medically necessary. And furthermore, I think when we're discussing and debating these issues, we have to put them in the context of, what's appropriate and what isn't. In most other countries, this is not a common procedure. In the United States and here in Michigan, sadly it is, almost 1,800 babies a year are dismembered in this fashion, and we just feel that that's a really a sad tragedy.
Let me ask you what some would refer to as I don't mean this literally, a devil's advocate position, and that is would be my response to a doctor or someone who says it's a woman's right to choose in this case. What about the woman's right to choose when I understand in rape and incest, a case like that, it's different, but for the most part, these abortions are conducted on women who made a choice and took part in a sexual act without protection and know the risks that go with that. And so why should the child pay the price?
Well, I can tell you that we know that the vast majority of abortions performed at any stage of pregnancy are not in the circumstances of rape, incest, or to protect the life of the mother. They are performed basically for birth control purposes. And again, I am pro-life at all stages of life, from the very young to the very old. But I think, I was hopeful that where we could find common ground was in the inhumane practice of dismemberment abortion. I know that we're not going to solve the debate in the state Senate this week or any other week on the fundamental difference of, the right to life and how we best protect that. But I was hopeful that we could at least find common ground on the inhumane practice of dismembering live babies in the womb inside of their mother. That is just such a gruesome practice that really shocks the conscience. And, just as an example of the hopefulness that I had, about 10 years ago, the Michigan House was Republican controlled, or rather the Michigan Senate was Republican controlled, and the Michigan House was Democrat controlled. And they joined together in a bipartisan way with overwhelming bipartisan support to pass the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act here in Michigan. And that laid the groundwork for the bill that I offered to amend the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act to also prohibit the practice of dismemberment abortion. And I was hopeful that we could again come together in a bipartisan fashion for that. Sadly, that did not happen yesterday.
Yeah, we'll continue to follow the story, and there's more to it. There's a petition signature initiative that is going to begin, and we're going to talk about that coming up in a few moments. Senator Tom Barrett, thank you so much, and good luck with this and following through on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Frank.
Thank you for what you did and for sponsoring that Police Week resolution in the Senate as well.